This is the live event where we are going to hear from the region's entrepreneurs and resource organizations. I'm Yee-Lin, a program officer with the Walton Family Foundation. Before we get started, I do have a couple of housekeeping points to communicate. Firstly, feel free to submit any comments and questions you have for the speakers. We will have a few minutes for a Q&A session after our conversations. And also, do note that this is not a typical panel discussion. Instead, we are going to have a rather interesting format, something that's known as the waterfall style conversation where two people are on stage at all times. A little bit like a relay race where an interviewer asks questions to an interviewee and the interviewee subsequently becomes an interviewer for someone else. So at the conclusion of our conversations, we will bring everyone back up for a group Q&A. So let's dive in. I'll begin with a short introduction on the Walton Family Foundation. The Walton Family Foundation envisions Northwest Arkansas as one of the nation's most vibrant and inclusive communities, a place where residents of all backgrounds have access to opportunity. As part of this background, it's important for us to ensure that all innovators and startups have access to resources they need to flourish and grow their businesses here. Developing a robust and inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem isn't something we can do overnight. It requires many heads, many hands working together towards that single goal. It is important for the community to not only support programs that elevate small businesses and identify high potential startups, but also for us to build a pipeline for diverse entrepreneurial talent and be really intentional in removing barriers for the underserved entrepreneurs and communities. Today, I'm really thrilled to be able to hear from some of our local entrepreneurs and support organizations who will be talking about their work, as well as some of the strengths and gaps they have observed in our entrepreneurial ecosystem in Northwest Arkansas. Over the next hour, we will hear from Emma Willis. She is the director of the Heartland region in Noire, an organization that connects corporations with communities to improve the health of Black businesses. We will also hear from April Roy. She is the founder and CEO of femPAQ. femPAQ focuses on empowering women and putting an end to the stigma around menstruation. We will also hear from Marta Londagin. She is the capital access manager of Kiva Hub in Northwest Arkansas. For those of you who are not familiar with Kiva, Kiva is a loan crowdsourcing platform that provides loan capital to underserved entrepreneurs across the region. And last but not least, we also have Edwin Ortiz. He is the co-founder and CEO of Rejoicy, a platform that offers digital storefronts and an online marketplace for local businesses. So let's begin with our interviews. Emma, I would like to begin with you. Can you tell us about Noire?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me, Yee-Lin. So Noire was essentially established to be a lighthouse here in Northwest Arkansas for Black entrepreneurs. One of the things that we realize is there's not enough space for minorities to come in and understand that their ideas actually have some value. A lot of times when we think about these entrepreneurial spaces, we think we have to come in immediately with an idea that's ready to take off and go. And what we want to do is nurture and actually help grow and build a foundation for your success. So first and foremost, our goal here at Noire is to make sure that your idea is both healthy and sound and scalable. So when people come in through that door, we reflect who they are in this community and welcome them in with the spirit of collaboration as well as success.
That sounds like an incredible resource for our community. I understand that you recently relocated to Northwest Arkansas and, being part of this entrepreneurial ecosystem as well as being an entrepreneur yourself, what do you see are the main opportunities or benefits in starting a business here in Northwest Arkansas?
So the main reason I relocated here was Northwest Arkansas is like an accelerant. You get here and it's amazing what you can get done in the course of one day. I literally showed up maybe 3 years ago, and I was working at the time in still in 529s. They're helping people save for higher education. And what I realized is Northwest Arkansas is like living in dog years. Like you come here for 2 days and you can get done what it would take most people in a year done in like just a couple of days time. And funny enough, I've met people like Martha Londagin on this call, Yee-Lin, and all of that happened in like overnight. So I think the biggest win for Northwest Arkansas, and if I had to put it on a silver platter, would be the fact that you can get a lot done in a short period of time. And it's because it's a very global or international community. The resources are right at your fingertips. And honestly, you can sit down at any coffee shop or any sidewalk, and you'll be sitting right next to a person that can offer you or extend you resources beyond your imagination.
It's encouraging to hear that there are indeed factors here that can help entrepreneurs get their entrepreneurial journey going. On the same note, what do you think are some of the barriers that are unique to the region, and that those barriers that you would like to highlight?
So I think the first barrier is just the unknown in Northwest Arkansas. So when you think about Arkansas as a whole, you first have to like center yourself on like, what is Arkansas known for? And it's not always the best things. So you always have to start from there. Is that, you know, research is usually for most people hitting Google. It's like, okay, things to do in Northwest Arkansas. The highlights are going to be mountain biking, our amazing trail system, the quality of life, and again, just the resources that are here. But for people on the ground, a lot of times there's this cultural skew. Being African-American in Northwest Arkansas, a lot of times you're looking for spaces and people to plug into that resonate or look like you. And I would say that's probably the biggest barrier, is that there are not enough spaces that reflect me as a person and how I actually choose to live my life. And so the first thing is establishment of community. And I think the first barrier is just me needing to see myself in the places that I go and the things that I do. So I think once we fix that, we actually are a bigger, brighter community to a lot of people. And it takes some time, it takes some building, but that is the first barrier, is being able to go somewhere where you don't have that space to unwind or have conversations that feel comfortable and normal or like home. So barrier number one would have to be just the cultural difference and getting to the region, but it's something we're working on. So
is this something that Venture Noire is doing, and what is Venture Noire doing specifically to address this barrier? And, you know, has a community, aside from Venture Noire, how can we help you?
Yeah, so Venture Noire is addressing that just by being present. So what we've noticed, there's not a huge African-American population here, but we are actively here recruiting people into the region. And one thing that we enjoy about this conversation is we get to open people's eyes up to opportunities. So when we say we're being a beacon or a lighthouse, we're actively doing that. Our connections run deep and nationally and internationally. And so what we do first is we tap into that network and we say, guys, you should absolutely look at Northwest Arkansas. One thing that I'm very proud of, because of our relationships, is our upcoming cohort is going to actually reflect our relationships and how we worked. And so we'll be encouraging people through our peer relationship or network to come into the region.
So, you know, I know that you have been an entrepreneur yourself, and is there any unique barriers that you face as an entrepreneur of color? And what is one piece of practical advice you would provide for entrepreneurs of color starting out on their journey?
I would say stay open and don't let one person's opinion of what you're doing be the final decision of what you're doing. I specifically was focused on women's hunting apparel or the outdoor space. And for me, it was really my narrative that carried my ability to gain traction and keep moving in this process. And so just know that a lot of times we have these support organizations, they can get you to a certain point, but you'll have to, as an entrepreneur, desire to keep learning and pushing for the success that you want. And that a lot of times we exist in this structure as a resource, and you have to remember that we're actively resources, and you need to remember to keep plugging in and tapping into us, because we will answer those questions and we will support you, and that the relationship doesn't stop just because you participated in a pre-accelerator or accelerator program.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? Because I don't think the mentoring stops when the accelerator program ends. So those are really interesting points you brought up, Emma. Thank you. We are going to shift gears here, and I'm going to hand over the role of the interviewer to you, Emma. So take it from here.
Thanks, Yee-Lin. And I am super excited to talk to April Roy of femPAQ because I have been following this particular journey myself. And so, April, I think, first, congratulations and welcome to the Northwest Arkansas region as you recently moved here. So happy to have you. But I think I want to dive directly into this conversation on barriers, because that shift from Central Arkansas to Northwest Arkansas does not just happen overnight. So talk to me about the barriers you came encounter with and what Northwest Arkansas opened up in terms of potential for femPAQ to grow or scale.
So originally we started off in Central Arkansas. I created the company and was operating there for 2 years and was pretty stagnant. I hadn't seen any growth in what I was doing. And so, but luckily, I'll say this, the Walton Foundation had done a scale challenge. And someone invited me to the introduction of the scale challenge. It was at the Venture Center. And so I was like, hey, I got off of work early. I'm going to go. This could be great for femPAQ. And so I'm there listening to them talk. And all I was thinking was, oh, this is not for femPAQ. They're talking about robotics and all of these things involving technology. And I was just like, oh, yeah, this is not for us. But I knew that I needed to speak with the lady who was over the program. And I just wanted to let her know what I was doing and how she could be a resource. And she was like, I would have been a customer if this was still happening for me. And she was like, let me give you my card and the scale challenge may work for you. And I was like, okay, And so they were like 2 months in and they just threw me in it. So I had like a lot of catching up to do, and never would I thought that we would end up being a finalist or a winner even of the scale challenge. But again, that was something that Northwest Arkansas put on, right? And so then I was invited to a boot camp by Venture Noire. And that's where I met Edwin and a bunch of other entrepreneurs. And all I thought was, Edwin has been doing this for 2 years and he was able to leave his job, but I still work a full-time job. Like, I need to get to Northwest Arkansas. And so I worked my butt off to get here. And I'll say this, everyone was like, by the time you leave this boot camp, you're going to move to Northwest Arkansas. And I was like, we'll see. Mm-hmm. As soon as it was over, I was like, yeah, I got to move to Northwest Arkansas because that's how valuable the resources are here. So definitely.
Yeah. So you just spoke to the very thing I just brought up with Yee-Lin, which is how Northwest Arkansas acts as an accelerant. It's pretty amazing how when people get here, things just take off naturally. I love that about it. So tell me a little bit about you being this Black woman and wanting to break into this industry where you typically see major players, right? You have your Unilevers, you have your Johnson & Johnsons, you have all these things. Talk to me about the barriers, or what was first going through your mind when you wanted to introduce this product to the world.
The first thing was nobody wants to hear about periods. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing that I thought. Like, a lot of men are in the spaces where they make decisions, and the first thing they would say to me was like, "Ooh, periods. That's not my, And the first thing I would think was, well, you got a mom, you have a wife, you have daughters. Like, women's health is your problem too. And so that has been my biggest barrier. Is convincing people like that menstrual health and menstrual hygiene health is very important to overall women's health. And so it's funny because I'll step into a room and they're like, oh, are you comfortable talking about this? And I'm like, no, are you comfortable hearing about this? Because, I'm going to tell you why, this is a problem and why we need to do something about it. And I will say this also. There are a lot of people in this space who are trying to solve the period poverty problem. And there are a lot of people of color. We don't see them because of the mainstream, but mm-hmm. I follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and we kind of build a support around each other to uplift one another. So again, community is everything. I will say this too. Northwest Arkansas, when I talk to guys here about periods, they're like, oh yeah, that is a problem. How can I help? So again, that shift from Central Arkansas and the old guard and like, oh, I don't want to talk about that, to like, oh, I'm all about women's health. I want to help. Like, it makes you like, okay, like, let's do this, So
love it.
Community is a big thing, right? As long as you have a community that's behind you to help you grow, like you can't, like there can't be anything that stops you.
So I love the spirit that you have now, because this is my last and final question to you. So it's making me think about the way you view this journey of being an entrepreneur, and how, if you had to change anything, what would you go back and do different? Or would there be any questions you would ask if you were talking to your former self? Like if I was talking to April a year ago, what would I say to her on this journey to encourage her to keep pushing forward?
So I will say, I would have asked for help sooner than later. Again, I built my products before it was like, okay, so what do I need to do now? I have this great thing. So what do we need to do? And I would have asked for help sooner than later. I will say this also, like that became a later thing for me, to use my resources, that people were wanting to help, because at first I was like, keeping it close to the chest. And, people think you're going to get your ideals stolen and all of these things, which is like, if people believe in you, they just want to help as well. So that would be my biggest thing. Yeah. Like just ask for help, girl.
Well, guess what, April? You get to take over this interview. So I'm kicking it off to you. Thanks so much for entertaining my questions.
Thank you so much, Emma. Oh my God. So this lady that's coming up, Martha, I met her and her energy is crazy. So welcome, Martha.
Hello, April. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. So the biggest question is, what is Kiva?
Yes. So Kiva is an international microloan program for disadvantaged borrowers that has been around internationally since 2005. Was started by a couple from San Francisco who were doing mission work in different countries in Africa, and found out about Grauman Bank, which is a Nobel Prize winning founder there that made very small microloans, $20, $25 to women in African villages, so they could grow businesses, making baskets, selling goat's milk, and not have to pay the male money changers in the village and lose all their profit. This couple went back to San Francisco and said, we could do this online. And so they launched Kiva. In 2011, Kiva came into the United States. And because in the United States, we have a lot of government programs to provide education and healthcare and personal help to our citizens in the United States, Kiva US is just for business. So you'll go to Kiva International at kiva.org, and you might see someone fundraising for a roof in their home in Ecuador. But in the US, it's just for business, because we're very blessed here and we have a lot of higher income levels. So it's just for small businesses. And when I say disadvantaged borrowers, we are very intentional. People will tell you when they meet me, I am very intentional. I am here to help Black business owners, Hispanic business owners, women business owners who have criminal felony backgrounds, as long as they are not violent crimes or for theft or fraud, and disadvantaged veterans. And so I am very intentional in the message, because Kiva itself is a nonprofit corporation. GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, those are for-profit companies started by rich people to make money. Does it help the world? Sure. It's great if you can go on GoFundMe and get donations to pay for your cousin's funeral, but it's a money-making business. Every time someone donates, they get a cut, right? Kiva itself as an entity is a nonprofit. And so major foundations, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Walton Family Foundation, Grubhub, eBay, they donate money to Kiva to have this system to transact these crowd-funded loans to small business owners. So that's Kiva overall. And the word Kiva is a Swahili word, which is a language spoken in many Western African countries that means community. And so it's about micro loans coming from the community to deserving business owners who have worked hard and are unable to access capital through traditional methods such as banks and like SBA-backed micro lenders because of the very high, difficult barriers to even apply for those loans.
So can you explain how Kiva Loan's microloan program is different from those other lending options available?
Sure. The first thing with a Kiva loan is we don't require you to have proof of being a U.S. citizen. You just have to have an address and be a resident of the United States. There are over 39 Kiva hubs throughout the country, and so those are in different cities supported by different organizations. Our Kiva hub here in Northwest Arkansas is supported and was founded due to support from the Walton Family Foundation, which enabled me to be trained by Kiva US to help people one-on-one. And so the first thing I tell them is you just have to be a resident of Northwest Arkansas to receive my free services to help you. The next thing is there's no credit score minimum. I used to be a small business banker at a bank in Northwest Arkansas, and I ran an SBA lending program. And so I would have to have the initial phone call. I had it down to 22 minutes, and I could zip through it with people and say, yep, 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 or nope, nope, nope. And I would send them somewhere else. And some of the yeps were, are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have a credit score above 680? Have you got some collateral to pledge? Kiva does not require any of those things. So that's the first breakdown barrier, is those are things not required. Now, there are some Kiva things you do, it does have to be for a business purpose. It can't be to just provide money to you or something personal. You're going to have some form of business documents, but that doesn't mean you have to have an LLC formed unless it's a business that's super risky. You know, I kind of wear two hats because I am the Kiva hub manager, but I'm also a business consultant with the Startup Junkie Foundation. So I'm always going to make sure folks are taking care of themselves. And you know what? If you're going to open a food truck, you've got to have an LLC set up. But I help walk them through getting some very basic documentation, proof of a business account, a DBA certificate from the county, and we're good to go. So the requirements, it's a very general look at the entire person to help them get ready for these microloans, which will come from our community. Our community will be able to go on the Kiva platform, loan them $25 initially. They'll have to get 5 to 20 of those. They get launched on Kiva International. And then after that, 1.9 million Kiva lenders, people love Kiva throughout the world, will loan to our borrowers. And the Walton Family Foundation has generously sent to Kiva in California, because like I said, Kiva is a nonprofit, a matching loan fund. And so when they get a loan from someone in Ireland or California or Tulsa, it gets matched by the Walton Fund. Then the borrower just sends one payment in each month, and all of their lenders, their accounts are paid back. Half will go to the Walton Family Loan Fund, so it can be relent to more Northwest Arkansas borrowers.
Nice, nice. And how is having the Kiva Hub with the staff and the community, how is it more helpful for those entrepreneurs interested?
Because the application's not hard, but it's lengthy. And so I will tell you, to be quite honest too, and sometimes I get a little choked up. I've had people that have said to me, nobody's ever had a conversation with me about getting a loan. I've just been turned away. You're the first person who will actually walk in. People need that confidence, especially people of color who have been turned down over and over and denied access. And so I think a lot of it is having a person to say, you are worthy of this. We've got some steps. We've got some things we need to put together. But of course, you're worthy of this. And for them to have an old woman like me who's owned a business for 16 years say, you've got a great idea. Let's see if we can get you some money to take it to the next level. So having someone in person to give them that confidence and then to help them with the application is absolutely vital.
Nice. Thank you so much, Martha. First of all, I love your energy always. And thanks for telling everybody how they can apply for Kiva loans.
Yeah, thank you for the chance. It's good to see you again, April.
You too.
All right. So next, I get the fun job of introducing to you Edwin Ortiz. Edwin, I am so thrilled that you are here to talk to our listeners today, because you are Mr. Northwest Arkansas entrepreneur. I have known of Edwin. Edwin has started not one, but two groundbreaking, interesting, world-changing entrepreneur businesses in Northwest Arkansas in the recent years. And so I want Edwin to tell you about his two businesses he has started here. And he had Luncher, which was an incredible ordering and delivery platform for lunches to offices, which was wildly popular. And then lovely COVID hit and shut down all of our offices in Northwest Arkansas. And then he has transitioned, and I love the fact that Rejoicy is not only a cool kids, techie, fabulous business, but it helps our very small business owners. And I have a lot of my minority business owners I know who are using the Rejoicy platform, and I am so thrilled, Edwin, you are here in Northwest Arkansas. So tell everyone a little bit, if you could, about your journey starting not one, but two groundbreaking and successful businesses in Northwest Arkansas in recent years.
There we go. That'll help. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity and for having me here. So for the last few years, it has definitely been a ride. So like you said, we started Luncher about 3 years ago. So in 2018, we started Luncher. I started just delivering meals in a bike with a test to see, can we do it more efficiently than existing delivery companies? And we could. We could do it 40 times more efficiently than other delivery companies. So we started with a pretty small test. It took a while to be able to create a website, and but we got that working. We were able to grow in 2019, and then 2020 we were able to get to 80 locations. So we were delivering to 80 offices as of March. And then March 20th, we all know what happened. COVID hit, all those offices closed, and then we were left with, this great team and our ability to create tech, and then all these business partners that are trying to figure out what to do with their business now because sales are not coming in. So what we did is we started thinking of new ways of creating business, and we created Rejoicy with the intention of making it really easy for the community to create a website and start selling online. And then for the community to shop local online. So really, it's just a way to make it a lot simpler for local businesses to start an e-commerce store, to be able to take advantage of the 40+% growth in e-commerce, while 20% of our local businesses closed, and the rest of them are down 30% in sales. So that's definitely a gap that we're passionate about. So yeah. I can't hear you, Martha. Sorry. I can't hear you.
Oh, I forgot to now.
No worries.
So I've gotten off of this a little bit. We've gone back kind of live, and now I've got to remember to get back on the Zoom. So you are the ultimate. I know we're all sick of the word, but you are the ultimate example of the pivot. So congratulations on your pivot. Now, you talked about starting two businesses and launching. Could you tell our audience a little bit? We're here today to talk about resources. What were some resources in Northwest Arkansas that assisted you, and how was being in Northwest Arkansas, how did that help you to launch these two very successful businesses?
Yeah, so I think like April said, community is everything. I think we've been very blessed to have people get behind us from the beginning. So when I started Luncher, I was still working for Walmart. I was in merchandising, and I came and presented at 1 Million Cups, which is an event that happens every Wednesday here in the community. Right now it's online, but I think starting next month, it'll be in person at the Exchange in Bentonville. I started going to that event. I got the opportunity to pitch Luncher, and Jeff Emran, who was there, he from Startup Junkie. So he was there, he heard the pitch. He asked me some pretty tough questions. And then after he saw that, okay, maybe there's something there, he offered to talk to me some more. So fast forward a few months, I think all that support from Startup Junkie, from the community, from those events that we got invited, where we got to meet, really awesome entrepreneurs. I think that made it to where I took the step to leave my day job and focus on this, but it wouldn't have happened without like that community getting behind us. So yeah, Northwest Arkansas is a special place.
Edwin, I want you to tell a little bit about how some people may not quite understand, and they need to understand how Rejoicy can help our minority and low-income entrepreneurs grow their businesses. How is sometimes people who are, I'm sorry, middle-class white, they've had computers in their house their whole life. They're like, yeah, technology, so what? Talk a little bit about how Rejoicy serves our communities, that access to technology and websites is a barrier and something that they need.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. As we started talking to local business, especially minority business, we saw a gap between, the technology that they had access to, or the experience, or how intimidating it could be. So we had this food truck on 8th Street that wanted to sell online. So, but they couldn't create a website. So we're like, how can we make it as easy as possible? And so what we did with Rejoicy is we made it to where people can create a website by answering 4 questions. They answer 4 questions. They can either do it through text or they can do it online, and it creates an e-commerce website for them. And then they can add pictures from their phone. They can edit, any information on there, and then they can launch their store. So they can start selling in less than 10 minutes. So it takes the barrier of having to have access to technology or know how to do it to 4 questions. So that's really what we're focused on, and how we're trying to position it to really help our minority and really all those local businesses that may have that barrier of technology. So
that's wonderful. It's a great concept, and we need to be, with Startup Junkie, we're out in the community a lot, and I have conversations with people a lot. We need to name what we need to do, which is we need to support our minority-owned businesses, our women-owned businesses. I know with our Kiva loan program, we've done 42 loans in 18 months, and 38 of those 42 have been to women and minorities. And so, I know we're all very appreciative. The Walton Family Foundation has helped, and I encourage people listening to this to find out about all these resources that have been supported by these incredible foundations in Northwest Arkansas. And we have new ones coming all the time, E for All, Circles NWA. So it to me, 24 hours a day, I'm trying to get the message out to people to ask for help. There is so much help here. We are so blessed by the actual funds from the Walton Family Foundation and other major corporations here being put into the streets to help people, because as that tide rises, every boat needs to rise with it. So I'm kudos to you, Edwin, for providing this incredible access for our business owners.
Thank you so much. I love your passion, and yeah, I'm super excited.
Thank you, Martha and Edwin. I love all your energy. I feel like we should bottle up this passion and energy and be entrepreneurial and selling these little bottles of entrepreneurial energy. I love hearing all your stories, your experiences, and all that you do. And it's so wonderful to have you all join us today. Your conversations have provided us with much food for thought. So next, we will want to open it up for questions. So the audience, please feel free to submit questions for the speakers. But let me start the ball rolling. And so I would like to ask Edwin a question, since you are the last interviewee. This is really a question I'm curious about as well. You mentioned you work in Walmart before you joined 1 Million Cups. And so that is a big leap of faith, right? Going from having a stable salary job and to a job, to an endeavor where you're not really sure how it would turn out. So what made you decide to make this leap of faith? What made you decide to embark on your entrepreneurial journey?
Thank you so much. I think a lot of it is like taking low risk decisions along the way, right? So when I was at Walmart, I decided to do a test, see if we could make food delivery more efficient, because I wanted to be able to afford it, and I couldn't afford it, just delivery to the office. So we figured out a way to deliver it for free, where people would just pay the same amount that they would pay at the office and get it delivered to the office. It was pretty straightforward concept, and it started as a small test, and then as I started meeting more people and learning more about what we wanted to do, it made it easier to then take that decision. I'm not one that takes decisions lightly, or I don't consider myself extra brave. I think it's just the more small decisions you can make and the more you can test your idea from the beginning, I think the more chances you have of success, and then the more faith you have in yourself to make that decision and take that step. So I would say it's really start now. Like if you're trying to start a business, start now with a small test, and then it comes to a point where that's all you're thinking about, and then then it's time to make that leap. That's really how I felt it.
Was there any particular experience or trigger that made you go like, all right, I'm gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think those people around me where I felt the support and including my family, my wife was very patient. It was like, okay, we have this money saved. I want to go ahead and do this. If it doesn't pan out in 3 months, if things are not working out or we're not moving fast enough, I'll look for something, right? And it's like, okay, how about 6 months? Now, but I mean, it becomes a thing. But I think it was really just the support from the entrepreneur ecosystem, the community, and then being able to have customers, because that's the other portion. We started getting customers from the community that believed in us early on, when our website was buggy, and when they still had some questions on how things could work, and it was that support that made it a lot easier to make that decision. So I think it was really the support.
Thank you for sharing, Edwin. I'll move on to one of the questions from the audience. This is for Emma. What's something you can do to prepare yourself to pursue innovation and entrepreneurship full time?
Ooh, there's a quote, and I think it's "Buckle up, Buttercup." Is what I would say, and that was just a joke. But what I would actually say is, for entrepreneurs and innovators out there, it's really about your ability to persevere. A lot of times we find some real gems and jewels in ourselves when we find out that we can dig deep and pull out some really amazing things. The journey here is really about believing in yourself when you come to entrepreneur. It's about being able to push forward day after day with an idea, knowing that it's tangible at some point. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but eventually you will get there. And the first step is identifying your resources that are around you. It's just like us here at Venture Noire. It's like Startup Junkie. It is identifying what resources exist in your community that can support you right now. Ask a lot of questions. No question is a bad question. A lot of times I watch entrepreneurs be intimidated by a room of other entrepreneurs when they don't realize that person at some point is where they currently are sitting today, which is at the beginning of a journey. And so what you have to know is, in order for you to move ahead, you have to have this willingness or vulnerability to ask the right question. Well, not ask the right questions, but ask questions. If you don't know, somebody around you absolutely does. And the beautiful thing about Northwest Arkansas, that's me. I ask as many questions as I possibly can in the course of 2 minutes. It's like, okay, what is this? What is that? What is that? And you just have to have that willingness to be a toddler, stumble around, bump your head, but know you're going to eventually be able to walk and talk. And for like the Startup Junkies or Venture Noirs, we are those resources. So call us, email us, go to our website, venturenoir.org. and ask questions, be a part of a cohort, come to a pre-accelerator, come to any activations that we're having. Because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be somebody there on the ground that resonates with you and will actively be a resource and a support in the start of that community on this journey to become an entrepreneur. So just be curious first and patient second, and be ready to just buckle up and start the journey. And it takes a lot of courage, but that's why entrepreneurs are so contagious, and why people jump into, trying to see their ideas come to life, is because they see us out here living our actual dream. So patience, perseverance, curiosity, that's what I would tell you would kick off this journey.
Yeah, I love that. Curiosity doesn't kill the cat in Northwest Arkansas.
No, it doesn't.
Great community that's collaborative. Yeah, okay, so let's move on to the next question. This is for April. Has the pandemic changed the way you approach your work?
Yeah, totally. In regards to trying to reach out to those B2B partners, we originally started in the travel and hospitality space, but then we learned that they were hit harder when it came to the pandemic. And so we had to pivot and figure out what spaces that we could approach, even though pandemics don't stop any periods. Actually, we saw that when it comes to those who can't afford period products, they were more affected by the pandemic. Women lost their jobs. We were more affected by the pandemic. So not having access to menstrual hygiene products, people not being at school. And so the pandemic really basically made our voices louder when it came to period poverty, because we started to talk about that more and get people involved in those spaces. And so with our business, we started thinking about the sports industry, schools, because 1 in 4 girls suffer from period poverty, 1 in 5 girls suffer from period poverty in college. So think about this. Why are we thinking about my period and not having access to menstrual hygiene products, while also thinking about my education and how I can persevere through this process? So that was one thing for us, is having to figure out like what approach we should take, even though we know that periods don't stop for a pandemic. So.
Thank you, April. Another question from the audience for Martha. How do we get underserved entrepreneurs to know about these resources and to participate in all this different programming that's available to help them?
Well, I think it's the responsibility of all of us who are in these nonprofit arenas supporting entrepreneurs. It's our job to know and refer people. So when I do a consulting meeting, someone might just consult with me to say, hey, I need to understand, I'm going to go apply for a loan. I need an SBA loan, or should I get it in-house? I'm not going to end that conversation just there. If I meet with the person and they're a Black entrepreneur, I'm going to suggest that they reach out to Venture Noire. If they're a Hispanic entrepreneur, I'm going to connect them to Conexión de Negocios in Springdale. You know, we, the people who are in this arena, we need to reach out and talk to people and tell them about all the resources that are available. I send people every other day to the Small Business and Technology Development Center. Maybe their consultant's going to tell them the same thing I did. I don't know. They may think of something I forgot. So we have a responsibility. Small business owners, those of us who are working in the entrepreneur ecosystem of Northwest Arkansas, have a responsibility to refer people out, to refer them to staff members on chambers. I referred a guy today to the downtown director of downtown Springdale with the chamber. He goes, yeah, but I'm not a chamber member. I said, I don't care. Call Karen. She's going to help you. She's a nice lady. So, you know, I grew up, my family's been here since 1852, and it still blows my mind that we're 500,000 people, but we're still very small. I'm telling y'all, it's 2 degrees of separation. So it's not only ask for questions, but I am telling you, if you are a small business owner or you work in any type of economic development, when people ask a question, you need to stop and you need to support them, particularly our women and our minorities and our folks who have felony background records. These people, they are so perfect for the entrepreneur world. Everything about entrepreneurship can lift them, lift their communities. And what I get really excited about is then they are examples to their children, to their families, to the people on their street. And this is a tide that can rise and reverberate. Entrepreneurship changes communities and families. And so we all have a responsibility to make sure that everyone who wants this opportunity in this country is given all the help that they deserve.
That's great advice, Martha. And so for the group, you all are either entrepreneurs yourself or you work frequently with entrepreneurs. What is the one advice, like short and sweet, you would give to someone who's thinking about starting an entrepreneurial journey? So let's start with you, Emma.
Be patient and be kind to, yeah, be patient and be kind to yourself. those words can go really far in the course of you becoming an entrepreneur of your dreams.
Advice, Emma. How about you, Edwin?
I would say do something about it every single day. I think just being constant and not quitting. I think that's the single most important thing is don't quit. Just you keep at it.
Don't quit. Yes, that's great advice. Okay, let's go on to April.
Patience is key. Success does not happen overnight. So little steps is a win every day for you. It may not be big, but small steps count as well. And those little steps will get you to your goal. And so just keep pushing, like Edwin said.
Keep pushing. All right. Let's end with you, Martha.
I'm just going to give you some real world advice for entrepreneurs. Take advice from people who have actually owned a small business. Take advice from people in economic development who work with small businesses. Your Aunt Sheena, your Uncle Bob, they may be great people, but listen, that's customer development when they're telling you what to do and not to do. Please, please, in Northwest Arkansas, we have so many resources to help you. Uncle Bob and Aunt Sheena, they mean a lot to you and they want to help. But if they haven't owned a small business or don't work in an active small business, get advice from people who actually can help you. And we've got that here. I've just seen people make so many mistakes that could have been very easily avoided, but they didn't actually talk to someone in small business development.
That's great. That's great. Great advice and tips from all four of you. I think we have time for a couple more questions. So how, being entrepreneurs here in Northwest Arkansas, what would you like to see from the community? What kind of help would you like the community to give you to help you succeed in your endeavor?
That's a great question. You want to go first, April? Ladies first. Oh.
I'm sorry, it's cutting out on me. I couldn't hear the question.
I can repeat the question. So as an entrepreneur here in Northwest Arkansas, what kind of help would you like from the community? What would you like the community to do to help you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes. So, to me, it's getting the word out. That has been the best thing for us, is letting people know that we're out here and that we're available. If you know anyone who wants to create period equity in their spaces, they can always visit femPAQ.com so that they could do that. And we can all have a hand in ending period poverty.
That's great.
I would echo that. I think, being supportive of those startups in our area and, being advocates for them, share their comments, buy from them. I think it's super important. And I think our community does a good job at that. I think we can do a lot better. I think we can get behind those that are trying to start something here in our area and help them grow it, just like we've seen some of our large companies in the area. Because I think we have the potential to see a lot more of those, which will benefit everybody. So I would say that, and representation matters. So let's open up doors for each other. I think it's important that we're opening doors for others, and that people that look like us also see that it's possible. So that's what I would say.
That's great. So all of us in the audience who have the opportunities to help open doors, to reach out and help them. All right, so thank you for all the great questions and wonderful answers from our speakers. It has been a productive learning session for me, and I hope for all of you as well. We really appreciate our speakers and everyone who joined us for our first ever LinkedIn Live. I hope we can continue to engage with all of you as we work together to advance our entrepreneurial ecosystem, one where all innovators, startups, and small businesses can thrive. Thank you again for being part of this conversation.
Thank you.